Hi, boys and girls. This is part 3 of Mysteries According to Humphrey. And again, Harrison is joining me. I know yesterday we heard this really cool word, pie-whacked. So like all good readers, I wrote it down and I tried to use it all day yesterday. And Carolyn and I were using it because we were pie-whacked a little when we tried to set up, the camera here. But we are not pie-whacked anymore, and we're ready to go. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Humphrey. All right, here we go. Thomas G. True waved his hand, and Mrs. Brisbane called on him. "Don't go to that lost and found," he said. "I went there last year, and it was a scary place." "Now, what was scary about it?" Mrs. Brisbane asked. Thomas's eyes grew wide. "Well, there were creepy things like spider webs and claws." "Oh!" I felt a shiver. Some of my classmates giggled. Oh, and there was a dead snake." Thomas stopped and thought, maybe it was alive, and I'm pretty sure I saw a severed hand. Oh, I'm sure that's not really true. Oh, I felt a quiver. There were gasps and more giggles, and some of my friends went, "Ew!" Mrs. Brisbane walked between the tables toward Thomas. "Thomas, are you sure that's true?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "At least that's what I remember." Get it? "Well, I don't think Mrs. Wright would keep any of those things in her lost and found," Mrs. Brisbane said. "Maybe you just imagined it." Thomas thought for a second. "Maybe, but I don't think so." Suddenly the bell rang, and my friends jumped up from their chairs. Slow Down Simon was the first one out the door, and my other friends were close behind. After all of my classmates had left from 26, Mrs. Wright came back in. Oh boy, now I'm pie-whacked. Get it? "That Phoebe is quite forgetful," she said. "Have you noticed?" "Yes, I have. We're working on it," Mrs. Brisbane said. I'd certainly figure out that Phoebe had a problem remembering things like homework and lunches, but I hadn't figured out why. All I really knew about Phoebe was that she lived with her grandmother, who seemed like an unsqueakably nice human. Mrs. Wright nodded politely and headed for the door, but before she left, she turned and said, "Please try to encourage your students to visit the Lost and Found. It's right in my office, inside the gym." "Yes, I'll do that," Mrs. Brisbane said. Mrs. Brisbane tidied up her desk for a few minutes. Then she wandered over to the table where Og and I live, next to the window. "Have a good night, fellows," she said. "I hope today wasn't too pie-whacking for you. See you in the morning." Love that. And I bet some of you are laughing right now. I could see you. She laughed and laughed, and then she left, just like any other day. "See you in the morning." That's what she said. I remember it so well. Later that night, Aldo came in to clean the classroom, as he does every night. "Never fear, Aldo's here," he boomed. Then he laughed, which made his big furry mustache shake. He went right to work, moving the tables and sweeping the floors, humming a happy-sounding song. When he got close to Mrs. Brisbane's desk, he stopped and picked up the red book. "Hey, Sherlock Holmes, I love these stories," he said, thumbing through the pages. "I remember that one about the red-headed guy." "Oh, tell me what happens," I shouted. Even Og splashed around in his tank. "Boing, boing," he twanged. "Sorry, I don't have time to read it to you," he told us. "Too bad you can't read it yourself." Aldo probably knows me better than any of my human friends, but even he doesn't know that I can read. It's not easy for a small hamster to read a big book. That's why I like it when Mrs. Brisbane reads to us. I decided I could wait until the next day to hear her read more of the Red-Headed League. But it was nice to know that Aldo likes Sherlock Holmes as much as I do. After Aldo left, the room was silent. Og didn't splash. He didn't even say, you could say it with me if you want, boing. What was he thinking about? We're good friends, but Og will always be a mystery to me. Humans are also very mysterious to me. I've learned a lot about them, but there are still so many things I don't understand. I took out the little notebook I kept hidden behind my mirror and started scribbling in it with my tiny pencil. Mysteries about humans. Number 1. Why do they keep odd and unpleasant pets like dogs and cats when they can have a very nice hamster like me? Why do they throw bits of leftover food away when they could store it in, like I do, the bed of my cheek? Why are humans cheek pouches? No, that didn't make sense. Where are the humans' cheek pouches? Why do humans laugh when they talk about poo, especially my poo? Mysteries about frogs. Why don't frogs have fur or even hair? Why can't frogs act just a little bit more like hamsters? I wasn't sure those mysteries could ever be solved. All right, now boys and girls, here is the Humphrey's Detectionary. Even smart detectives like Sherlock Holmes can't solve a mystery without a clue. All right, now the next chapter is called The Case of the Missing Misses, and we'll stop.